Inside the quiet sanctuary of your own mind, have you ever stopped to listen to the silence that rests behind your thoughts? It is a strange thing, this feeling of being you. Right now, as you hear my voice, you are floating in a private universe of perception. You feel the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breathing, and the subtle texture of existence itself. But here is the question that has haunted the greatest thinkers for thousands of years. A question that connects the gray matter inside your skull to the farthest edges of the cosmos. Is this feeling of consciousness something your brain creates, like a machine generating steam? Or is it something your brain receives, like an antenna tuning into a signal that has existed since the dawn of time? We tend to assume that our minds are sealed vessels, lonely islands of awareness trapped inside biological cages. We believe that when the body dies, the signal simply vanishes, extinguished like a candle in a dark room. But what if we are wrong? What if the universe is not a cold, dead place where life is a happy accident, but rather a vast conscious ocean, and you are simply a temporary wave rising from its surface? There is a theory growing in the quiet corners of advanced physics and neuroscience that suggests exactly this. It is a theory that terrifies some scientists because it shatters the comfortable illusion of our separation from the universe. It suggests that consciousness is not a biological trick, but a fundamental field of nature as real and as omnipresent as gravity or electromagnetism. If this is true, it changes everything. It means that the silence you feel when you close your eyes is not empty. It is the hum of the infinite. Welcome to the channel, Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and I invite you to join me on a quiet journey into the deepest mysteries of our existence. Here, we do not rush. We do not seek easy answers. We simply drift together through the wonders of the cosmos, letting the magnitude of the universe wash over us. If you enjoy exploring the boundaries between science and philosophy, and if you find peace in the contemplation of the unknown, please take a moment to like this content and subscribe to our community of curious souls. It helps us keep this little corner of the internet alive, and it lets us know that you want to keep walking this path of discovery with us. Now, let us return to the silence behind your eyes to understand why this new theory is so revolutionary and perhaps a little frightening. We must first look at the standard story science tells us about ourselves. It is a story of incredible complexity, but ultimately, it is a story of isolation. According to mainstream neuroscience, you are your brain. You are a 3-pound lump of wet, biological tissue sitting in the dark, bone-encased cavern of your skull. When we look at this tissue under a microscope, we see a forest of neurons, roughly 86 billion of them, connected by trillions of synapses. It is a biological machine of staggering intricacy. Every thought you have, every memory you cherish, every pang of sadness or burst of joy is, according to this view, nothing more than a chemical reaction. Sodium and potassium ions flowing across cell membranes, neurotransmitters bridging the gaps between cells, electrical spikes racing down axons. It is a grand orchestra of matter, a symphony of atoms dancing to the laws of physics. But there is a problem with this story, a problem so deep and so stubborn that philosophers call it the hard problem. The problem is this: you can explain the chemistry perfectly. You can map every neuron, measure every electrical impulse, and calculate the flow of every ion. But nowhere in that map, nowhere in those equations, will you find the feeling of the color red. You will not find the taste of honey. You will not find the ache of heartbreak. You will only find matter moving. How does matter, which is dead and unfeeling, suddenly wake up and feel something? How does the motion of atoms, which are just tiny spinning tops of energy, transform into the subjective experience of being alive? If you took a computer and programmed it to simulate every single neuron in your brain, would that computer feel lonely? Would it marvel at the stars? Or would it just be a dark box processing numbers? The standard scientific model has no answer for this. It asks us to believe in a miracle, that at some level of complexity, dead matter magically becomes a living mind. This is where the terror of the new theory begins to creep in, because if the brain cannot create consciousness from scratch, then consciousness must come from somewhere else. Imagine for a moment that you are a radio. You can play music, you can transmit voices, you can fill a room with sound. If someone who knew nothing about technology looked at you, they might assume that the music is being created inside your plastic shell. They might take you apart, looking for the tiny musicians inside. They would find wires, chips, and speakers, but they would never find the source of the music. They would be looking in the wrong place. The music is not in the radio. The music is a signal, an invisible wave moving through the air, and the radio is simply a device built to catch it. What if the brain is the same? What if evolution did not build a generator of consciousness, but a receiver? This would imply that the music of awareness, the raw potential to feel and to be, is already out there, filling the void of space, waiting for a structure complex enough to tune into it. This idea aligns with the thoughts of one of the fathers of quantum mechanics, Max Planck. In the early 20th century, Planck looked deeply into the nature of matter and found himself staring into a mystery he could not explain away. He famously said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness." Think about the weight of those words. A physicist, a man of rigorous measurement and mathematics, concluding that the mind is more real than the atoms that make it up. If Planck is right, then the universe is not a collection of dead rocks floating in empty space. It is a field of potential awareness. The empty space between the stars is not empty at all. It is alive with the possibility of mind. This brings us to the edge of the precipice. If consciousness is a fundamental field, like a quantum field permeating the cosmos, then what are you? You are not a solitary ego fighting for survival in a hostile universe. You are an aperture, a window through which the universe is observing itself. This is beautiful, yes, but it is also terrifying to the part of us that wants to be special, separate, and permanent. It suggests that our individual identity might be a temporary illusion, a localized gathering of the field, like a whirlpool in a river. When the whirlpool dissolves, the water remains. When the brain shuts down, does the signal cease to exist, or does it simply return to the field? Let us go deeper into the physical reality of your brain to understand how this connection might work. We tend to think of our bodies as solid things. We touch our hands. We feel the chair beneath us. But physics tells us that this solidity is a mirage. If you were to zoom into the neurons of your brain, past the cells, past the molecules, down to the atoms, you would find that they are almost entirely empty space. If the nucleus of an atom were the size of a marble sitting in the middle of a football stadium, the electrons would be tiny specks whizzing around the very top rows of the stands. Everything in between is empty, void, nothingness. And yet, this nothingness holds the atom together in quantum physics. This vacuum is not truly empty. It is a frothing sea of energy, a place where virtual particles pop in and out of existence, a realm of fluctuations and fields. If your brain is 99.999% empty space, then what exactly is doing the thinking? Is it the tiny specks of matter, or is it the vast emptiness between them? The theory we are exploring suggests that the connection between the brain and consciousness happens in this microscopic realm, in the delicate quantum interactions that occur within the deepest structures of our neurons. We are not just biological machines, we are quantum resonators. We are humming in harmony with the vacuum of the universe. This perspective shifts our gaze from the biological to the cosmic. When you look up at the night sky, you see stars separated by light, years of darkness. It looks lonely. But if consciousness is a field, then that darkness is the medium that connects us. We are not isolated sparks in the dark. We are the light of the darkness itself, shining through. This dissolves the boundary between in here and out there. The vastness of the cosmos is not separate from the vastness of your mind. They are the same thing, viewed from different angles. The silence you feel when you meditate is the same silence that sits between the galaxies. Why does this terrify scientists? Because science, for the last 300 years, has been built on the principle of reductionism. We break things down to understand them. We dissect the frog to understand life. We smash the atom to understand matter. But you cannot dissect a field. You cannot break consciousness into pieces and put it in a jar. If consciousness is fundamental, it means there is a limit to objective observation. It means that the observer is always part of the experiment. It reintroduces mystery into the heart of a discipline that has tried to banish it. It suggests that the universe has an interior life, a subjective reality that runs parallel to the objective physical world. It hints that the universe might have a purpose, or at least a preference for experience. Moreover, this theory challenges the finality of death. In the standard view, when the brain dies, the lights go out, the chemical reaction stops, and you are gone. But if the brain is a receiver, then the destruction of the radio does not destroy the signal remains in the field. This opens the door to possibilities that science has traditionally mocked. The idea that awareness could persist, that information is not lost, that there is a continuity to existence that transcends biology. For a materialist scientist, this sounds uncomfortably like spirituality. It blurs the lines between physics and metaphysics, between the laboratory and the temple. It forces us to ask, are we souls wrapped in meat? Or are we the universe dreaming of being human? As we stand here at the beginning of this journey, I want you to hold this possibility in your mind. Do not force yourself to believe it or reject it. Just let it sit there. Look at your hand. Flex your fingers. Feel the sensation of movement. Is that sensation happening inside your skull? Or is it an event occurring in the quantum field that fills the room? Are you the weaver of your thoughts? Or are you the loom upon which the universe weaves its tapestry? The answer lies in the microscopic details we have yet to explore. In the coming chapters, we will dive into the strange world of microtubules, the tiny structures inside your neurons, where some scientists believe this quantum connection takes place. We will walk through the bizarre laws of quantum mechanics, superposition, entanglement, tunneling, and see how they might explain the miracle of your mind. We will look at the work of Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, who dared to propose that our brains are quantum computers, and we will face the ultimate question. If we are quantum beings, are we infinite? The silence behind your thoughts is calling. It is an ancient silence, older than the stars, deeper than the oceans. It is the sound of the universe listening to itself. As we peel back the layers of biology and physics, we may find that the biggest mystery is not what is out there beyond the reach of our telescopes, but what is right here, sitting in the center of your awareness. The journey we are about to take will lead us through the valleys of the atom and the peaks of the galaxy, but it will always circle back to you, to the mystery of the observer, to the ghost in the machine. Take a deep breath. Let the air fill your lungs and realize that the atoms you are breathing have traveled through supernovae to be part of you for this brief moment. You are a gathering of stardust, momentarily awake, and perhaps, just perhaps, you are the universe's way of knowing itself. The fear of being small in a vast universe is natural, but there is a cure for that fear. It is the realization that you are not small. You are the vastness itself, focused into a point. In the next part of our story, we will leave the macroscopic world behind. We will shrink down, smaller than a cell, smaller than a molecule, to enter the quantum realm. It is a place where logic breaks down, where things can be in two places at once, and where the impossible becomes the routine. It is there, in the quantum foam, that we might find the bridge between the brain and the cosmos. It is there that we might find the proof that you are more than just a biological accident. Are you ready to see how deep the rabbit hole goes? Are you ready to question the very nature of your own mind? As we leave the familiar world of solid objects and predictable gravity behind, we embark on a descent into the microscopic cathedral of your own biology. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you are shrinking. The room around you dissolves, the chair beneath you fades, and you are falling inward, passing through the skin, through the tissue, diving deep into the gray matter of the brain. At first, you see the neurons, those great branching trees of the mind, flashing with the electrical storms of your thoughts. They look like lightning captured in gelatin, a vast, tangled web of 86 billion sparks. But we must go deeper. We must go past the cell membrane, past the machinery of the mitochondria, into the very scaffolding that holds the cell together. Here, in the quiet, fluid interior of the neuron, we find the structures that might just be the bridge between your human life and the infinite cosmos. They are called microtubules, and if the theories of Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff are correct, these tiny hollow tubes are not merely the skeleton of the cell. They are the keys to the universe's consciousness. To the naked eye of standard biology, a microtubule looks like a simple structural support, a biological beam that gives the neuron its shape and acts as a highway for transporting essential cargo. They are incredibly small, cylinders measuring only 25 nanometers in diameter. To put that in perspective, if you were to pluck a single hair from your head and slice it down the middle, you could fit thousands of microtubules across the width of that single strand. They are ancient structures present in the cells of plants, animals, and single-celled organisms, suggesting that whatever function they serve is fundamental to life itself. But when we look closer with the eyes of a physicist rather than a biologist, we see something that looks suspiciously like technology. The walls of these tiny tubes are made of a protein called tubulin, arranged in a perfect, beautiful lattice. It is a spiral geometry, a Fibonacci pattern that echoes the spirals of galaxies and sunflowers. This is not a random accumulation of matter. It is a crystal. And crystals, as we know from the silicon chips in our computers, are very good at handling information. This is where the story takes a turn from the biological to the quantum. For decades, neuroscience assumed that the brain was a classical computer. In a classical computer, information is binary. A switch is either on or off, a 1 or a 0. It is a world of certainty. For a long time, we believed the neuron worked the same way. It either fires an electrical signal or it does not. But the richness of your consciousness, the sudden flash of insight, the intuition that defies logic, the seamless flow of perception, does not feel like a binary calculation. It feels fluid. It feels like a wave. Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist who spent his career putting people to sleep and waking them up, began to wonder if we were looking at the wrong level of the brain. He knew better than anyone that consciousness could be turned off with a specific chemical gas, a gas that seemed to act directly on the microtubules inside the neurons. If erasing the function of these tiny tubes erased consciousness, could they be the source of it? At the same time, across the ocean, the legendary mathematical physicist Roger Penrose was wrestling with the limits of computation. He argued that the human mind can understand truths that no computer could ever prove. We have a quality of understanding, a non-computational leap of awareness that transcends simple algorithms. Penrose believed that this quality must stem from the quantum realm, the only place in physics where the rules of cause and effect loosen and where a particle can exist in multiple states at once. When Hameroff contacted Penrose and showed him the structure of the microtubules, it was a moment of revelation. Penrose saw in the crystal lattice of the tubulin protein a potential biological quantum computer. They proposed a theory called orchestrated objective reduction, or ORC-OR. It is a complex name for a beautiful idea, that the microtubules inside your neurons are isolating and processing quantum information, tapping into the fundamental geometry of space-time to generate the spark of awareness. But to accept this, we must understand the strange magic of the quantum world. In our daily lives, we are used to things being in one place at one time. Your coffee cup is on the table. It is not simultaneously on the table and in the cupboard. But down at the scale of atoms and electrons, this rule of certainty breaks down. A particle can be in a state of superposition, meaning it exists in all possible states simultaneously. It is a probability cloud, a ghost of potentiality. It is as if a coin, when spun, is not heads or tails, but a shimmering blur of both. Penrose and Hameroff suggested that the tubulin proteins in the microtubules can act like these spinning coins. They can exist in a superposition of two different shapes at the same time. This means that a single neuron is not just a simple switch. It is a quantum processor capable of holding millions of possibilities in a single moment. This theory suggests that your brain is performing a quantum computation. It explores millions of possible thoughts, perceptions, and decisions simultaneously in the quantum realm. Then, in a moment of collapse, all those possibilities settle into one single reality, the thought you actually think, the color you actually see. This collapse is not random. It is orchestrated by the biology of the brain, tuned to the frequency of the universe. If this is true, then consciousness is a sequence of tiny, discrete moments of quantum discovery. It is a rhythmic pulse, occurring roughly 40 times per second, where the brain dips into the quantum field, touches the infinite potential of the cosmos, and brings back a moment of conscious experience. You are not a continuous stream of awareness, but a rapid-fire series of quantum sparks, flickering so fast that it feels like a seamless light. However, This beautiful theory faces a formidable wall of skepticism. For years, mainstream physicists laughed at the idea. They argued that the brain is too warm, wet, and noisy for quantum effects to survive. Quantum states are incredibly fragile. They usually require near absolute zero temperatures and total isolation to exist. A single heat vibration or a collision with a water molecule typically destroys the superposition instantly, a process called decoherence. The interior of a neuron, filled with water and bustling with thermal energy, is like a chaotic storm compared to the pristine stillness required for a quantum lab. How, the critics asked, can you build a delicate quantum computer in the middle of a hot soup? It seemed like an impossible hurdle. It seemed to prove that the brain must be a classical machine, and that the magic of consciousness was just an illusion of complexity. But nature has a habit of humbling those who underestimate her. In the last decade, a new field called quantum biology has emerged, and it has begun to rewrite the rules of what is possible. Scientists discovered that plants, in the process of photosynthesis, use quantum superposition to transport energy. When a photon of sunlight hits a leaf, it searches for the most efficient path to the reaction center. It does not try one path, fail, and try another. It takes all paths simultaneously, using quantum coherence to find the perfect route in a fraction of a second. If a humble leaf of grass can maintain a quantum state in the warm, wet outdoors, why couldn't the human brain, the most complex object in the known universe, do the same? We also found that birds use quantum entanglement in their eyes to navigate by Earth's magnetic field. The barrier of warm and wet is crumbling. Life, it seems, learned to surf the quantum waves billions of years ago. The microtubules, it turns out, might have a shield. The water inside the cells is not just chaotic liquid, it is ordered. The surface of the microtubules organizes the water molecules into a protective sheath, a gel-like state that might insulate the quantum vibrations from the thermal noise outside. It is a quiet zone in the middle of the biological storm, a sanctuary where the delicate dance of the quantum states can endure. Within this shielded tunnel, the tubulin proteins can hum in unison, entering a state of macroscopic quantum coherence. This means that millions of proteins are vibrating together, sharing a single quantum state, acting as one giant unified object. This coherence is the physical signature of the self, Le. It explains how the disparate activity of billions of neurons binds together into the single unified feeling of being you. Let us pause and feel the weight of this. If Penrose and Hameroff are right, then deep inside the neurons of your brain, inside the very structures that hold your cells together, there is a connection to a level of reality that physics is only just beginning to understand. You are not merely processing data from your eyes and ears. You are processing the fabric of the universe itself, the collapse of the quantum state. The moment a possibility becomes a reality is an event that occurs at the fundamental level of space-time geometry. Penrose calls these events proto-conscious moments. They are the building blocks of reality. The universe is made of these tiny sparks of becoming. In empty space, these sparks are random and disconnected, lacking meaning. But inside your brain, the microtubules organize them, stringing them together into the rich, coherent narrative of your life. This implies that the capacity for experience is woven into the very geometry of the cosmos. Space and time are not empty containers. They are the carriers of proto-consciousness. Your brain is like a prism. The white light of the universal field shines through it, and your unique biology refracts it into the rainbow of your personal experience. The red of a rose, the sound of a cello, the warmth of love. These are the specific frequencies into which your brain translates the universal signal. We are not generating consciousness. We are curating it. We are the instruments upon which the universe plays its song. This perspective is gentle, but it is also radical. It suggests that the evolution of the brain was not a climb towards creating a mind, but a refinement of the ability to access the mind that was always there. The first single-celled organism with a cytoskeleton was already tapping into this field in a primitive, dim way. As life became more complex, as the microtubule networks grew more intricate, the aperture widened, the signal became clearer, the consciousness became deeper. We are the current peak of this evolutionary process, the most sophisticated receivers on this planet, capable of turning the raw quantum signal into poetry, mathematics, and philosophy. But if the brain is a quantum receiver, what happens when the receiver is damaged? What happens when the biological structure degrades? Does the signal stop, or does it simply lose its focal point? When a radio breaks, the broadcast continues even if the music in the room stops. This theory offers a scientific framework for understanding phenomena that materialist science dismisses: near-death experiences, the clarity of mind sometimes reported in terminal patients, the sense of connection that transcends space and time. It suggests that our consciousness is non-local. It is not pinned to the coordinates of the skull. It is entangled with the universe. The quiet revolution of OR is gaining ground. Experiments are beginning to show evidence of quantum resonances in microtubules. The impossible is becoming the probable. And as we look deeper into the rabbit hole, we find that the rabbit hole has no bottom. The connection between the brain and the quantum field leads us to the very definition of reality. What is the objective reduction that Penrose talks about? It is the decision of the universe to be something rather than nothing. It is the transition from the dream to the waking state. And it is happening inside you trillions of times a day. Imagine the silence of a great library, filled with all the books that could ever be written. That is the quantum field, pure potential, infinite information. Now, imagine a reader walking through the aisles, picking a book, opening it, and bringing the story to life. That reader is your brain. Without the library, the reader has nothing to read. Without the reader, the library is silent. They need each other. The universe needs you to collapse its possibilities into reality. You are an essential participant in the cosmic unfolding. As we prepare to move forward in our journey, consider the implications of being a quantum being. It means that at your core, you are not solid. You are a vibration. You are a song sung by the proteins in your cells, harmonizing with the background hum of space-time. The anxiety of being a separate, fragile ego begins to fade when you realize that the foundation of your mind is the same as the foundation of the stars. You are woven into the tapestry. You cannot fall out of the universe because you are the universe. In the next chapter, we will venture even further. We have looked at the receiver. Now we must look at the signal. We will explore the concept of the zero-point field, the sea of energy that fills the vacuum of space. We will ask if this field could be the repository of a cosmic memory, a universal hard drive where the information of every conscious moment is stored. Is it possible that the universe remembers you? Is it possible that nothing is ever truly lost? We will walk the line between the hardest physics and the deepest spirituality, guided by the light of scientific inquiry. The mystery deepens and the silence grows more profound. Are you ready to listen to the whisper of the void? We have traveled inward shrinking down to the quantum cathedrals of your own cells. Now, we must turn our gaze outward into the vast, silent darkness that surrounds us. Look at the space in front of you. Look at the air between your eyes and the screen. It seems empty, does it not? A void, a nothingness, a simple gap between objects. For centuries, science told us that space was a stage, a passive, empty container where the drama of the universe played out. Stars and planets were the actors, and space was just the black backdrop, irrelevant and dead. But the theory we are exploring, the one that whispers of a conscious universe, tells a different story. It tells us that the void is a lie. There is no such thing as empty space. What you see as nothingness is actually a plenum, a fullness, a roaring ocean of energy so dense and so alive that it defies human comprehension. This is the zero-point field, and if the brain is indeed a receiver, this field is the signal. This field is the memory of the cosmos. To understand the zero-point field, we must return to the strange rules of the quantum world. In classical physics, if you take a box and remove all the particles, all the atoms, all the photons, and cool it down to absolute zero, you should have zero energy. Perfect stillness. But Werner Heisenberg, one of the giants of quantum mechanics, showed us that nature abhors stillness. The uncertainty principle dictates that you cannot know both the position and the momentum of a particle with perfect precision. If a particle were perfectly still, you would know its position and its momentum, zero, exactly. This is forbidden. Therefore, even in the most perfect vacuum, even at absolute zero, there must be movement. There must be a jitter. This jitter creates a sea of virtual particles, electrons and positrons, photons and gravitons, popping into existence and annihilating each other in a fraction of a nanosecond. It is a quantum foam, a seething froth of creation and destruction happening everywhere, all the time, even inside the empty spaces of your own body. This is not just a mathematical trick, it is real. We have proven it in the laboratory with something called the Casimir effect. If you place two metal plates extremely close together in a vacuum, they are pushed together by an invisible force. That force is the pressure of the virtual particles outside the plates, crashing against them like waves against a ship. The empty space is pushing back. But here is the fact that makes physicists tremble. When they attempt to calculate how much energy resides in this empty space, the numbers become monstrous. John Wheeler, the legendary physicist who coined the term black hole, calculated that the energy density of the quantum vacuum is roughly 10 followed by 93 zeros grams per cubic centimeter. To give you a sense of scale, the density of an atomic nucleus is only 10 to the power of 14. This means that a space the size of a sugar cube contains more energy than all the stars in all the galaxies of the visible universe combined. Let that sink in. The empty air in your cupped hands holds enough power to boil the oceans of Earth instantly. You are not moving through a void. You are swimming through a sea of infinite power, blinded to it only by the fact that it is everywhere, like a fish unaware of the water. If this field is everywhere, and if it connects every point in space and time with every other point, could it be more than just energy? Could it be information? This is where the physics of the vacuum meets the ancient intuition of the mystics. In Sanskrit philosophy, there is the concept of the akasha, a subtle ether that records every thought, every word, and every action that has ever occurred. It is a cosmic memory, a universal hard drive. For a long time, this was dismissed as poetry. But today, serious scientists are asking if the zero-point field is the physical manifestation of this idea. Consider the concept of the hologram. If you take a holographic film and cut it in half, you do not lose half the picture. Each half still contains the entire image, just a little fuzzier. If you cut it into tiny pieces, each shard still holds the whole. The information is distributed non-locally. Some physicists, like David Bohm, propose that the universe itself is a hologa movement, a flowing hologram where every part contains the information of the whole. If the zero-point field is the medium of this hologram, then the information of the Big Bang, the formation of the Earth, the life of every dinosaur, and the secret dreams of your childhood are not gone. They are enfolded in the vacuum. They are written into the fabric of space itself. This changes the nature of your existence fundamentally. We are terrified of death because we equate it with erasure. We fear that when the brain stops, the memories are wiped clean, like a computer crashing without a backup. But if consciousness is an interaction with the zero-point field, then your memories, your personality, the unique pattern of you, are not just stored in the fragile neurons of your brain. They are imprinted on the eternal field. You are constantly writing your life into the bedrock of the universe. The brain acts as the retrieval mechanism, the screen that displays the data, but the data is stored in the cloud of the cosmos. This might explain why the hard problem of consciousness is so hard. We have been looking for the source of the broadcast inside the television set. We have been trying to find the memory of the universe inside the gray matter, but the gray matter is just the antenna. When the antenna is tuned properly via the quantum resonance of the microtubules we discussed, it downloads the experience of now from the field. It also accesses the memories stored there. Have you ever had a sudden intuition, a flash of knowing something you shouldn't know? Have you ever felt the mood of a room change before a word was spoken? Perhaps these are moments when your biological receiver picks up a ripple in the field, a subtle vibration of information that exists outside of your physical senses. The idea of a conscious universe, a panpsychist view where mind is the fundamental substrate of reality, is a terrifying blow to the human ego because it removes us from the center of the story. But it is also a profound relief. It means we are never truly alone. If the space between us is full of consciousness, then separation is an illusion. The air that separates you from the person you love is not a wall. It is a bridge. We are all rising from the same ocean, made of the same water, simply taking different shapes for a brief moment in time. Let us return to the silence. When you quiet your mind, when you stop the chatter of daily life, you might be reducing the noise of your local biology, allowing the subtle signal of the field to come through. That feeling of peace, of vastness, of timelessness that meditators report. Is it a hallucination, or is it a direct experience of the zero-point field? Is it the feeling of the universe resting in itself? The fear that scientists feel towards this theory comes from the loss of control. If the universe is conscious, it might have a will, it might have a direction. It is not a clockwork machine that we can dissect and master. It is a living presence that we must relate to. Furthermore, this theory challenges our understanding of time. In the quantum vacuum, the distinction between past, present, and future becomes blurry. At the quantum level, particles can move backward in time just as easily as forward. If the zero-point field stores information holographically, then the past is not gone in the sense of being destroyed. It is simply elsewhere in the field, and the future might already be forming as a probability wave, waiting for us to collapse it. This suggests that your consciousness might not be strictly bound to the linear flow of seconds and minutes. Have you ever felt that a moment lasted forever? or that years passed in a blink. Perhaps your consciousness is capable of sliding along the timeline of the field, tethered only by the heavy gravity of the biological body. The implications for the nature of reality are staggering. We treat the physical world of tables and chairs as the real world, and dreams or thoughts as imaginary. But physics tells us that the solid world is mostly empty space held together by force fields, floating on a sea of infinite energy. The solid world is the illusion. The energy field is the reality. As the great physicist Erwin Schrödinger said, "What we observe as material bodies and forces are nothing but shapes and variations in the structure of space. You are a shape in the structure of space. You are a ripple in the silence." As we stand on the shore of this infinite ocean, we must ask ourselves, what does it mean to live as a quantum being? It means that your every thought sends a tremor through the web of reality. It means that you are responsible for the quality of your consciousness, not just for your own sake, but because you are contributing to the universal field. You are adding your verse to the cosmic song. If the universe remembers everything, then every act of kindness, every moment of love, every pursuit of truth is immortal. It is etched into the geometry of the void. But there is a darker side to this wonder. If we are all connected through this field, why do we feel so separate? Why is the illusion of isolation so convincing? Perhaps it is a necessary tragedy. To experience itself, the universe had to fragment. It had to forget its wholeness to know the joy of rediscovery. You are the universe playing a game of hide-and-seek with itself, hiding behind the mask of a human identity, forgetting your infinite nature so that you can have the adventure of being finite. In the silence of your room, try to feel the field. It is not something you can touch with your fingers, for your fingers are made of it. It is not something you can see with your eyes, for your eyes are sensors built from it. You can only feel it with that other sense, the sense of being, the sense of I am. That I am is the field waking up at your coordinates. It is the 0-point energy becoming self-aware. In the next chapter, we will take this concept of the timeless field and confront the most stubborn illusion of all, time itself. We will look at the block universe theory, which suggests that the past, present, and future are all equally real and existing simultaneously. We will explore the possibility that your life is not a fleeting candle, but an eternal sculpture in the fourth dimension. Does time flow? Or do we just move through it like a traveler moving through a landscape? And if time is an illusion, does that mean you never truly die? The journey into the mind of the cosmos is about to get even stranger. We are about to step out of the clock and into eternity. Are you still with me? Is the silence around you starting to feel a little more full, a little more alive? Let us continue to peel back the veil. Imagine a river. You are standing on the bank, watching the water flow past. Leaves float by, swirling in the current, appearing from the upstream bend and disappearing downstream. We instinctively feel that time is this river. We feel it flowing through us, carrying us from the past, which is gone and dead, toward the future, which is not yet real. We feel trapped in the now, a tiny, fleeting raft constantly being pushed forward by an unstoppable force. This sensation of flow is the most fundamental aspect of our human experience. It is the source of our anxiety, our nostalgia, and our fear of death. We mourn the moments that are gone, believing they have vanished into nothingness. We worry about the moments to come, believing they are blank pages waiting to be written. But what if the river is an illusion? What if the water is frozen solid? What if the past, the present, and the future are all equally real, existing simultaneously in a vast, static structure that physics calls the block universe? If this is true, then the moment of your birth and the moment of your death are not events that happen and then fade away. They are permanent coordinates in the landscape of eternity. They are always there, just as New York is always there, even when you are in London. This theory, born from the mind of Albert Einstein and refined by generations of physicists, suggests that time does not pass. We simply move through it. And if consciousness is a quantum field, then perhaps we are not just passengers on the raft. Perhaps we are the river itself. To understand this, we must let go of our intuition and embrace the strange geometry of relativity. Before Einstein, we thought of space and time as separate things. Space was a stage, and time was a clock on the wall, ticking at the same rate for everyone, everywhere. But Einstein showed us that space and time are woven together into a single fabric called space-time. Imagine a loaf of bread. The length of the loaf represents the dimension of time, and the width represents the dimensions of space. Each slice of the bread represents a moment of now for a particular observer. But here is the trick. Depending on how fast you are moving and how strong the gravity is around you, you slice the bread at a different angle. What is now for you might be the past for someone moving rapidly past you. What is future for you might already be past for a distant observer. If two observers can disagree on what is happening now, and both are correct according to the laws of physics, then there can be no single universal now. The entire loaf must exist at once. The past cannot be gone, and the future cannot be unwritten, because someone else's now cuts through them. This leads to a staggering conclusion. The universe is a four-dimensional block. It is a completed sculpture. Every event that has ever happened, or will ever happen, is already frozen in the crystal of space-time. The dinosaurs are still roaming the earth at their specific coordinates in the block. The pyramids are still being built. You are still a child playing in the sun, and you are already an old soul taking your last breath. All of these moments exist with the same solidity as the chair you're sitting on. They are simply located at different points along the temporal dimension. So, why do we feel the flow? Why does it feel like the past is dissolving behind us? Hermann Weyl, a brilliant mathematician and colleague of Einstein, wrote, "The objective world simply is. It does not happen. Only to the gaze of my consciousness, crawling upward along the lifeline of my body, does a section of this world come to life as a fleeting image in space which continuously changes in time." Think about that image. Crawling upward along the lifeline. It suggests that your physical body is not a moving object, but a long, snake-like tube stretching through the block universe. At one end of the tube is a baby, at the other end is a corpse. The entire tube exists at once, but your consciousness, that mysterious quantum receiver we have been discussing, acts like a spotlight. It shines on one slice of the tube at a time, illuminating it and creating the sensation of the present. The flow of time is not a property of the universe. It is a property of your attention. It is the movement of the spotlight, not the movement of the landscape. But what moves the spotlight? This brings us back to the quantum nature of the brain. Remember the orchestrated objective reduction theory we explored earlier? The idea that consciousness is a sequence of quantum collapses occurring 40 times per second? Each collapse is a moment of now. Each collapse is the spotlight landing on a new slice of the space-time loaf. The flow you feel is actually a rapid-fire series of still frames, like a cinema film running through a projector. The film strip itself is static. It exists in its entirety in the canister, but when the light shines through it, frame by frame, it creates the illusion of motion. Your brain is the projector, the quantum field is the light, and the universe is the film. This perspective offers a profound cure for the fear of loss. If the block universe is real, then nothing is ever truly lost. When a loved one dies, they do not cease to exist. They simply cease to intersect with your current slice of now. But they are still there, laughing and living at the coordinates of the past, fully alive and fully real. The sorrow we feel is a trick of perspective, like crying because a mountain has disappeared simply because we drove around a bend and can no longer see it. The mountain is still there. The past is still there. This is why Einstein, upon the death of his best friend Michel Besso, wrote a letter to Besso's family saying, "Now he has departed from this strange world a little ahead of me." That means nothing. People like us who believe in physics know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. But the mystery deepens when we add the quantum layer to this block. In the classical block universe, everything is fixed, deterministic. Your future is already written in stone. This is a claustrophobic thought for those who value free will. However, the quantum version of this theory introduces a fuzzy block. It suggests that while the past is fixed, the future is a branching tree of probabilities. The spotlight of your consciousness does not just illuminate the path, it chooses the path. Every time your microtubules collapse a quantum state, you are navigating the block, selecting which branch of the future becomes real. You're not just a spectator crawling along a predestined line. You're an artist sculpting your own timeline in real time. And here is where it gets truly mind-bending. In the quantum realm, there is evidence that the future can influence the past. This is known as retrocausality. In experiments like the delayed choice quantum eraser, decisions made in the present seem to determine the path a particle took in the past. If consciousness is a quantum phenomenon, does this mean that your mind can reach back in time? Does it mean that the person you are today is co-creating the person you were yesterday? It suggests that your life is not a straight line from birth to death, but a resonant loop where the future pulls on the present just as much as the past pushes it. Maybe the intuition that guides you is actually a signal from your future self, rippling back through the quantum field to nudge you onto the right path. Maybe the destiny you feel is just the gravity of the future waiting for you to arrive. If we accept this view, we must radically redefine what we are. We are not ephemeral creatures vanishing into the dark. We are four-dimensional structures, eternal and complete. The you that spans from birth to death is a single, magnificent object in space-time. You are a song that is always being sung, even if the listener only hears one note at a time. This idea aligns with the ancient concept of the eternal now. Mystics have always claimed that eternity is not a very long time. It is a dimension that sits outside of time altogether. When you enter a deep state of meditation, when you silence the clock in your brain, you step out of the cinema and look at the film strip as a whole. You touch the block. You feel the presence of the infinite. Consider the implications for the universe itself. If the entire history of the cosmos exists simultaneously, then the Big Bang is not an event that happened billions of years ago. It is happening right now, at the beginning of the block. The heat death of the universe trillions of years hence is also happening right now at the end of the block. The universe is a static, shimmering jewel, and time is just the way we explore its facets. This means that the purpose of the universe is not some future goal it is trying to reach. The purpose is the structure itself. The beauty is in the whole design, not just the ending. This terrifies scientists because it breaks the simple chain of cause and effect. It makes the universe teleological, meaning driven by purpose and end goals, rather than just blind mechanics. It suggests that the future exists and is pulling us towards it. It implies that consciousness is not just a passenger, but the navigator of this four-dimensional ship. It puts the responsibility of reality back in our hands. If you are choosing your slice of the universe moment by moment, then the quality of your attention determines the quality of your world. Let us return to the silence of your room. Listen to the clock ticking. Tick, tock. Each second feels like a little death, a moment gone forever. But try to shift your perspective. See that tick and that tock as 2 points on a map. They are both real. They are both safe. Nothing is crumbling. You are simply moving your focus. The silence behind the ticking is the block. It is the canvas upon which the ticking is painted. That silence is you. As we grapple with the illusion of time, another question arises. If we are all separate timelines weaving through this block, are we ever truly connected? Do our lifelines just cross like ships in the night, or is there a deeper entanglement? If the quantum field connects everything in space, does it also connect everything in time? This brings us to the concept of quantum entanglement, the spooky action at a distance that Einstein famously hated. It turns out that particles can be linked in such a way that they share a single existence, no matter how far apart they are in space or time. If two particles are entangled, changing one instantly changes the other faster than the speed of light. If the atoms in your brain are entangled with the atoms of another person, perhaps a lover, a child, or a parent, then you are not separate entities. You are a single quantum system spread across two bodies. This could explain the profound bonds we feel, the sense of knowing when someone we love is in danger, the feeling of oneness that transcends physical distance. In the block universe, entangled souls might be like a double helix, two lines spiraling around each other, dancing through eternity together. The separation of bodies is a spatial illusion. The connection of minds is a quantum reality. In the next chapter, we will dive into this mystery of connection. We will explore the phenomenon of entanglement and ask if it creates a universal internet of consciousness. We will look at the experiments that suggest human minds can influence each other at a distance. We will ask if the collective unconscious described by Carl Jung is actually a physical reality housed in the quantum field. We have looked at the brain, the field, and time. Now we must look at the web that binds us all. Are we individuals, or are we merely nodes in a single, vast cosmic mind? The journey continues, and the boundaries of the self are about to dissolve completely. Take a moment to feel your own lifeline. Feel the child you were and the elder you will become. They are here with you right now in the silence. You are the whole loaf. You are the whole river. We have walked through the valley of the atom, explored the architecture of the brain, and stood before the frozen river of time. Now we must turn our eyes to the invisible threads that bind it all together. Look at the person closest to you, or if you are alone, think of the person you love most in this world. You feel a sense of connection, yes, but you also feel a profound physical separation. You're in your body, behind your eyes, and they are in theirs. Between you lies a gap of empty air, a distance that sound and light must travel to bridge. We live our lives believing that we are islands, distinct and autonomous, floating in a sea of indifference. We believe that my thoughts are private, hidden inside the vault of my skull, and that your pain is yours alone, accessible to me only through words or gestures. But the quantum theory of consciousness suggests that this separation is the greatest illusion of all. It suggests that deep down, in the subatomic basement of reality, we are not islands. We are not even separate waves. We are the same water, moving in unison, connected by a mysterious force that Einstein called spooky action at a distance, but which we might simply call the physics of oneness. This force is quantum entanglement, and it may be the scientific proof that at the fundamental level, we are all one. To understand the magnitude of this, we must go back to a debate that shook the foundations of physics in the 20th century. Albert Einstein, the master of the macroscopic universe, believed that reality was local. This means that for one object to affect another, it has to touch it or send a signal to it, like a sound wave or a beam of light. Nothing, he argued, can travel faster than the speed of light. Therefore, if two things are far apart, they are independent. But quantum mechanics, the upstart theory of the very small, predicted something impossible. It predicted that two particles, electrons, photons, atoms, could become entangled. This means they link their destinies in a way that transcends space and time. If you take two entangled electrons and separate them by a few feet, or a few miles, or even opposite sides of the galaxy, they remain instantly connected. If you measure one and find it spinning up, the other will immediately, instantaneously, be found spinning down. No signal passes between them. No time elapses. The change happens at the exact same moment, defying the speed limit of light. Einstein refused to believe it. He thought it was magic, not physics. But in 1982, a French physicist named Alain Aspect performed the experiment. That proved Einstein wrong. He showed that the particles really do communicate instantly. The universe is non-local. Separation is a mirage. Now take this concept and apply it to the human brain. We know that the universe began in a singularity, a single point of infinite density, where all matter and energy were crushed together. Every atom in your body, every electron in your neurons, was once touching every atom in every other star, planet, and person. If the laws of quantum mechanics hold true, this means that everything in the cosmos is, to some degree, entangled with everything else. The particles that make up your mind have a history of intimacy with the particles that make up the rest of the universe. If your brain is a quantum computer, as Penrose and Hameroff suggest, then it is not just processing local information. It is plugged into a cosmic network. It is entangled with the minds of others. This offers a startling physical explanation for the mysteries of human connection that we usually dismiss as coincidence or superstition. Think of the mother who wakes up in the middle of the night, knowing with absolute certainty that her child is in trouble miles away. Think of the times you have thought of an old friend you haven't seen in years, only to have the phone ring a moment later with their name on the screen. Think of the collective moods that sweep through a crowd, a city, or a nation, the shared grief, the shared panic, the shared joy. Are these just psychological tricks, or are they ripples in the quantum field? If our brains are entangled, then telepathy is not magic. It is just wireless communication on a quantum bandwidth. We are constantly broadcasting and receiving emotional data unaware that the sudden sadness we feel might not be ours, but the echo of someone else's sorrow vibrating through the invisible web. The famous psychologist Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a reservoir of shared human experience, symbols and archetypes that we all inherit. He believed that deep down, our minds are rooted in a common soil. For decades, scientists treated this as a metaphor, but the concept of a non-local quantum field gives it a physical address. The collective unconscious might be the cloud storage of the species housed in the zero-point field, accessed via the entanglement of our neural microtubules. We are individual terminals, yes, but we are logged into the same mainframe. This means that your private struggle, your quiet victory, your secret dream, they are all uploaded to the human library. You are contributing to the evolution of the whole. But the implications go even further, touching on the very nature of empathy and morality. If we are entangled, then doing harm to another is, quite literally, doing harm to oneself. It is not just a moral poeticism. It is a physical reality. When you strike another, the quantum reverberation travels through the web and shakes your own foundation. When you heal another, you heal the knot in the web that connects you both. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, becomes a law of physics, as immutable as gravity. The sensation of empathy, that ache you feel when you see suffering, is the tug of the entanglement. It is the universe reminding you that the other is just another version of you. This perspective challenges the lonely nihilism that often accompanies scientific materialism. We are told that we are accidents of biology, fighting for survival in a dog-eat-dog world. But quantum mechanics tells us we are a woven tapestry. The survival of the fittest is a local game. The reality of the whole is cooperation and connection. We see this in the Global Consciousness Project, a fascinating experiment that has been running for decades. Scientists placed random number generators, machines that spit out zeros and ones completely randomly, all over the world. Most of the time, they produce a random noise, a flat line. But during moments of intense global focus, like the events of September 11th, or the death of Princess Diana, or grand celebrations, the machines stop being random. They start to become ordered. They deviate from the norm, as if the intense focus of billions of human minds is bending the probabilities of the physical world. This suggests that consciousness is not just a passive witness. It is an active force that can shape reality. A new sphere, or sphere of human thought, enveloping the earth. Why then do we feel so alone? Why has evolution built us with such a strong sense of individual ego? Perhaps isolation is a necessary feature of the system. If we felt the thoughts and feelings of 7 billion people all at once, we would be overwhelmed. We would be unable to function. The brain acts as a filter, a reducing valve that blocks out 99% of the cosmic signal so that we can focus on finding food, building shelter, and raising children. The ego is a survival suit, a protective shell that allows us to play the game of being an individual. But the price of this protection is the feeling of loneliness. The spiritual journey, then, is the process of thinning the shell. It is the practice of quieting the local noise so that we can hear the hum of the collective. Imagine a grove of aspen trees. On the surface, they look like individual trees with separate trunks and separate branches. But underground, they are all connected by a single, vast root system. They are one organism. If you cut one, the others bleed. If you water one, the others drink. Humanity is an aspen grove. We look at our separate bodies and think we are alone, forgetting the root system of the quantum field that binds us in the dark. The I that you cling to is just a leaf. The we is the tree. This theory of entanglement also sheds light on the power of intention and prayer. If your mind is entangled with the fabric of reality, then your intentions are not just thoughts, they are forces. When you focus your will, you're plucking the strings of the web. Experiments by scientists like Dean Radin have suggested that human intention can influence the formation of ice crystals, the growth of bacteria, and even the path of photons. We are not impotent observers. We are co-creators. We are constantly sculpting the world with the chisel of our attention. This is a heavy responsibility. It means we cannot afford the luxury of cynical, destructive thoughts, for those thoughts are pollution in the collective stream. We are called to be stewards of our own consciousness. As we ponder this web of connection, we must also confront the mystery of death again. If we are entangled with the universe, can death break that bond? Entanglement is a property that does not depend on time. Two particles entangled billions of years ago are still entangled today. This suggests that the connections you make in this life, the love you give, the bonds you forge, are eternal. They are written into the permanent entanglement of the cosmos. Death may dissolve the ego, the leaf that falls from the tree, but it cannot sever the root. The relationship remains. The love remains. It is part of the information structure of the universe. And what of the other life forms? Are we entangled only with humans, or are we woven into the consciousness of animals, plants, and the earth itself? The quantum field does not discriminate. It is the substrate of all matter. This implies a deep ecology of spirit. The pain of the animal kingdom, the destruction of the forests, the health of the oceans, these are not external problems. They are internal conditions. We are entangled with the biosphere. When the earth suffers, our collective unconscious suffers. The anxiety of the modern age might not just be about politics or economics. It might be the psychic scream of a dying planet, felt in the marrow of our bones through the quantum link. To live with this awareness is to walk gently. It is to look at a stranger and see a secret collaborator. It is to look at the stars and feel a family resemblance. The silence you cultivate in your own mind is a gift to the collective mind. When you find peace, you make the web a little more stable for everyone else. When you find clarity, you light a lamp in the shared darkness. But if the visible universe is woven together by light and entanglement, what about the invisible universe? We know that the matter we can see, the stars, the planets, the gas clouds, makes up only 5% of the universe. The rest is darkness, dark matter and dark energy, mysterious, invisible giants that dictate the fate of the cosmos. Does consciousness exist there too? Is the universal internet just the surface layer of a much deeper, darker ocean? In the next chapter, we will venture into the unknown territory of the dark sector. We will ask if dark matter could be the physical substance of the soul, or if dark energy is the driving will of the universe's evolution. We have explored the light of the mind. Now we must explore its shadow. Take a deep breath and visualize the invisible threads radiating from your heart, connecting you to the room, to the city, to the planet, to the stars. You are a knot in the net of Indra, a jewel reflecting all other jewels. You are never alone. You are the web. We have spent our journey thus far exploring the light of the stars, the light of the mind, and the light of the electrical impulses that race through your neurons. We have marveled at the visible matter that makes up your body, the air you breathe, and the ground you walk upon. But there is a humbling truth that modern astrophysics forces us to confront, a truth that makes everything we have discussed so far seem like a mere prologue to a much vaster story. If you were to take everything that science has ever observed, every star in every galaxy, every cloud of gas, every planet, every asteroid, every single atom in the periodic table, and even the light itself, and put it on a cosmic scale, it would amount to less than 5% of the universe. Just 5%. The rest, the overwhelming 95% of reality, is missing. It is invisible. It does not reflect light. It does not emit heat. And it does not interact with the electromagnetic force in any way we can detect. We call it the dark sector. It is composed of dark matter and dark energy, two mysterious entities that are not merely empty space, but substantial, powerful forces that dictate the structure and destiny of the cosmos. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental field, we must ask the terrifying question, is our human consciousness just the tip of the iceberg? Is there a dark consciousness residing in the invisible 95%, a shadow mind that dwarfs our own? Welcome back to the channel Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and we are venturing now into the deepest shadows of the universe. If you are finding comfort or curiosity in these explorations of the unknown, please remember to like this content and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue peeling back the layers of these cosmic mysteries together. Now, let us step into the dark. To understand the magnitude of the dark sector, we must look at how it was discovered. It began in the 1970s with an astronomer named Vera Rubin. She was studying the rotation of spiral galaxies, beautiful pinwheels of stars like our own Milky Way. According to the laws of gravity established by Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein, stars on the outer edges of a galaxy should move slower than stars near the center, just as Pluto moves slower around the Sun than Mercury does. The gravity from the visible mass of the galaxy should simply be too weak at the edges to hold on to fast-moving stars. But when Rubin analyzed the data, she found something impossible. The stars on the edges were moving just as fast as the stars in the interior. They were whirling around at incredible speeds, speeds that should have flung them out into deep space like a child thrown from a fast-spinning merry-go-round. But they stayed put. Something was holding them. Something massive, something invisible, something incredibly strong was gripping the galaxy, providing the extra gravity needed to keep it intact. We call this invisible glue dark matter. It is not dark like a shadow. It is dark because it is completely transparent to light. It passes right through you, right through the earth, right through the sun, as if we were nothing more than ghosts. If dark matter is the glue that holds the universe together, dark energy is the wind that blows it apart. In the 1990s, astronomers made another shocking discovery. They expected the expansion of the universe, which began with the Big Bang, to be slowing down as gravity pulled everything back together. Instead, they found it was speeding up. Galaxies are rushing away from each other faster and faster every day. A mysterious pressure is pushing space itself to expand, overcoming the pull of gravity. This is dark energy. It makes up roughly 68% of the universe, while dark matter makes up about 27%. The normal matter, the stuff of you, me, and the stars, is the tiny residue, the remaining 5%. We are the foam floating on a deep, dark ocean. This realization requires a radical shift in our perspective on consciousness. We have been asking if consciousness arises from the brain, or if the brain receives it from the electromagnetic vacuum. But if the electromagnetic universe is only a sliver of reality? Are we missing the main broadcast? Some physicists and philosophers are beginning to speculate that the dark sector might not be dead and inert. It might be the home of a complexity we cannot even imagine. Think about it. Nature does not waste space. In the visible 5%, matter has organized itself into complex structures, atoms, molecules, cells, brains, civilizations. Why would the other 95% be a featureless wasteland? Is it possible that dark matter has its own chemistry, its own dark periodic table, its own invisible stars and invisible planets, and perhaps its own forms of life? This is the shadow biosphere hypothesis. It suggests that right here, occupying the same space as your living room, there could be complex structures made of dark matter passing through you at this very moment. If consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, emerging wherever complexity reaches a certain threshold, then a complex dark matter brain would be conscious. But because our particles do not interact with their particles, we would be like ghosts passing through each other, two separate realities occupying the same volume of space, but never touching. We might be walking through invisible cities. We might be breathing in the exhaust of invisible civilizations. The silence of the room might be filled with the noise of a shadow world that our ears are not built to hear. But let us go deeper. What if the connection is not one of separation, but of foundation? What if dark matter is the physical substance of what we call the soul? For thousands of years, mystics have spoken of a subtle body, a non-physical aspect of the human being that survives death. They describe it as having weight but being invisible, as interacting with the body but not being made of flesh. This sounds suspiciously like dark matter. Dark matter has mass, weight. It interacts with normal matter through gravity, but it is invisible. Could it be that your biological brain is merely the interface for a dark matter consciousness structure? When the biological body dies and decays, the dark matter structure, bound by gravity but immune to electromagnetic decay, would simply detach and drift away. It would not need eyes to see or ears to hear, for it would exist in the sector of the universe that does not use light. This idea aligns with the strange observations of the cosmic web. When we simulate the structure of dark matter on a universal scale, it looks like a vast three-dimensional spider web. Filaments of invisible matter stretch across billions of light years, connecting massive clumps of galaxies. But here is the eerie part. This structure looks almost identical to the network of neurons in a brain. The cosmic web looks like a neural network. Is the universe itself a giant brain, with dark matter acting as the axons and dendrites, and galaxies acting as the neurons? If so, we are living inside the mind of a titan. The thoughts of this cosmic mind would take billions of years to travel from one synapse to another, but on the scale of the universe, that is just a moment. We might be microscopic thoughts inside a dark matter dreamer. Now, consider the role of dark energy. It is the force of expansion, of creation, of pushing boundaries outward. In many spiritual traditions, the creative force of the universe is described as a breath, the prana, the spirit, the ruach. It is the energy that animates and expands. Dark energy fits this description perfectly. It is the breath of the cosmos, inflating the void, creating new space where there was none before. If dark matter is the skeleton of the universe, dark energy is its spirit, and we, the visible matter, are just the skin draped over this invisible giant. This perspective might explain the sensation of expanding consciousness, that people report during deep meditation or psychedelic experiences. When the ego dissolves, when the fixation on the material world fades, perhaps the consciousness is shifting its frequency. It is tuning out of the 5% and tuning into the 95%. The feeling of becoming one with the universe is not a metaphor. It is a literal expansion of awareness into the dark sector. You are remembering your heritage as a child of the whole cosmos, not just the visible part. The void that meditators describe, the rich, pregnant emptiness, is the sensation of the dark energy field. But why is this terrifying? Because it suggests that we are utterly insignificant in terms of mass and volume. We are the anomaly. The universe is primarily a dark universe. We are a rare, glowing mold growing on the surface of a dark monolith. It challenges our anthropocentric view that the universe was made for us. It seems more likely that the universe was made for the dark sector, and we are just a byproduct, a bit of light pollution in a dark cathedral. However, there is beauty in this rarity. If visible matter is so scarce, then what we are, this glowing, feeling, seeing matter, is precious. We are the bioluminescence of the cosmos. We are the way the dark universe sees itself. Without us, the dark matter would be blind. It would exist, but it would have no mirror. We are the mirror. Let us return to the silence of your room. Close your eyes and imagine the invisible matter flowing through you. Imagine the billions of neutrinos and dark matter particles streaming through your skull right now, unimpeded by the bone or the brain tissue. They are carrying information from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Are they interacting with your microtubules? Is there a subtle gravitational nudge that they impart to the quantum states in your neurons? Perhaps the random thoughts you have, the sudden inspirations, are actually interactions with this dark stream. Perhaps your mind is an instrument that plays the music of the invisible wind. There is also the question of entropy. In the visible universe, everything decays. Stars burn out, mountains crumble, bodies age. This is the second law of thermodynamics. But we do not know if the dark sector follows the same rules. Does dark matter decay? Does dark energy run out? If not, then the dark consciousness could be immortal in a way we cannot comprehend. It could be a stable, eternal record of existence. If our minds are entangled with this sector, then we partake in that immortality. We are anchored in the timeless. This leads us to a fascinating possibility about the destiny of the universe. Physicists predict that in the far future, all stars will burn out, all galaxies will drift apart due to dark energy, and the visible universe will become a cold, dark, lonely place. The big freeze. It sounds like the ultimate end of consciousness. But if the dark sector is the primary seat of awareness, then the burning out of the stars is just the turning off of the lights in the house. The inhabitants of the house, the dark consciousness, are still there. The universe does not die. It just goes dark. It enters a state of pure, invisible being. The heat death is not death. It is the universe entering a permanent state of meditation. As you sit there, breathing in the quiet, realize that you're a hybrid being. You have a body made of stardust, subject to the laws of light and heat and decay. But you may also have a mind rooted in the dark, subject to the laws of gravity and expansion and eternity. You are the bridge between the visible and the invisible. You are the intersection of the day and the night. The terror of the unknown is simply the fear of the part of yourself you have not yet met. In the next chapter, we will take this concept of the hybrid being and explore the holographic nature of the brain and the universe in even greater detail. We have mentioned the hologram before, but we must dive into the holographic principle, a theory from string theory that suggests the entire three-dimensional universe is actually a projection from a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the cosmos. Are we literally living in a simulation? Is your life a movie projected from the horizon of the universe? And if we are holograms, does that mean we are an illusion, or does it mean we are indestructible information? We will look at the work of David Bohm and Carl Pribram, who argued that the brain reads the universe like a hologram reader. The rabbit hole is about to turn into a hall of mirrors. Let the darkness of the room comfort you. It is not empty. It is full of the silent, heavy presence of the dark sector, holding you, permeating you, and perhaps dreaming you. You are safe in the dark, for the dark is what the universe is mostly made of. Look at the screen you're holding. You see depth, you see colors, you see shapes moving in what looks like a three-dimensional world. But run your finger over the glass. It is flat. It is cold. It is a two-dimensional surface creating a convincing illusion of a three-dimensional reality. Now, lift your eyes and look at the room around you. Look at the depth of the hallway, the volume of the furniture, the vastness of the sky outside the window. You are absolutely convinced that this is a three-dimensional world, that you are a solid object moving through a deep, voluminous space. But what if the universe is just a screen? What if the depth you perceive is a trick of processing? What if the entire cosmos, from the atoms in your eyelashes to the furthest galaxy, is actually a hologram projected from a distant two-dimensional surface at the edge of reality? This is not a plot from a science fiction movie. It is one of the most serious and mathematically robust theories in modern theoretical physics, known as the holographic principle. And if it is true, it means that you, me, and everything we love are, in a very literal sense, ghosts of information. We are projections. We are the readout of a code written on the horizon of the universe. Welcome back to the channel, Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and today we are stepping through the looking glass into a world where reality is not what it seems. If you find value in these quiet contemplations of the impossible, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us keep the signal strong in the noise of the internet, and it invites others to join our circle of inquiry. Now, let us unravel the illusion of the solid world. To understand why physicists would entertain such a wild idea, we must journey to the most extreme objects in the universe, black holes. In the 1970s, the brilliant physicists Stephen Hawking and Jacob Bekenstein were wrestling with a problem. They wanted to know what happens to information when it falls into a black hole. If you throw a book into a black hole, is the information in that book destroyed forever? According to the laws of quantum mechanics, information can never be destroyed. It must be preserved somehow, but a black hole traps everything, even light. It seemed like a cosmic trash can where information vanished. Bekenstein realized something profound. He found that the amount of entropy, or information, a black hole can hold is not proportional to its volume, the space inside, but to its surface area, the event horizon, the boundary around it. Think about a library. Usually the amount of information a library can hold depends on how big the building is, its volume. You fill the rooms with books, but imagine a library where the number of books you can store depends only on the square footage of the walls, not the space inside. This suggests that the inside is just a projection of the surface. Leonard Susskind and Gerard de 't Hooft extended this idea to the entire universe. They argued that if a black hole describes a volume of space using a 2D surface, then perhaps the entire universe is just a black hole turned inside out. They proposed that all the information describing our three-dimensional reality is actually stored on a distant two-dimensional boundary, a cosmic horizon that surrounds us. What we experience as reality, the feeling of moving forward and backward, up and down, is a holographic projection of that 2D data. We are like characters in a movie, convinced we are living in a 3D world, while the real us is just a pattern of light on a flat film strip. But if the universe is a hologram, what is the brain? How does a biological organ perceive a hologram? This brings us to the work of Karl Pribram, a neuroscientist who was as revolutionary as the physicists were. For years, scientists believed that memories were stored in specific spots in the brain, like files in a cabinet. They searched for the engram, the specific neuron that held the memory of your grandmother's face. But they could never find it. In famous experiments by Carl Lashley, rats were taught a maze, and then parts of their brains were surgically removed to see if they would forget. No matter which part of the brain was cut out, the rats still remembered the maze. The memory wasn't in a spot. It was everywhere. It was distributed throughout the brain. Pribram was baffled until he encountered the concept of a hologram. In a holographic photograph, you use laser beams to create an interference pattern on a film. The film looks like a meaningless blur of swirls, but when you shine a light through it, the 3D image appears. Here is the magic. If you cut the film in half, you don't lose half the image. You get the whole image, just a little fainter. If you cut it into tiny pieces, each piece still contains the whole picture. This is distributed information. Pribram realized the brain must function like a hologram. Memories are not stored in neurons. They are stored in the interference patterns of nerve impulses crisscrossing the brain. The blur of neural firing is the film. Your consciousness is the light that reconstructs the image. Then came the synthesis. Pribram met David Bohm, a quantum physicist and protege of Einstein. Bohm had developed a theory of the implicate order. He believed that the tangible world we see, chairs, trees, atoms, is the explicate order, the unfolded reality. But underneath it lies the implicate order, a deeper frequency domain where everything is enfolded into everything else. In the implicate order, there is no space and time. There is only a vast flowing movement of energy and information, which Bohm called the hollow movement. He argued that the universe is not a collection of particles, but a single, unbroken whole in flowing motion. When you put Pribram and Bohm together, you get a theory that shakes the ground beneath your feet, the holographic brain theory. It suggests that your brain is a holographic receiver tuning into a holographic universe. The objective world out there is actually a chaotic ocean of frequencies and energy fields, the implicate order. It has no color, no sound, no texture. It is just vibration. Your brain acts as a lens. It takes this chaotic frequency soup and mathematically transforms it, using a process called Fourier transform, into the coherent, solid 3D world you perceive, the explicate order. You are constructing reality in real time. The red of the rose is not out there. It is the way your brain interprets a specific frequency. The hardness of the rock is not out there. It is the way your brain interprets a force field. This means that reality is a collaborative simulation. We are not living in the universe. We are creating the universe moment by moment through the act of perception. The silence you feel behind your eyes is the stillness of the projector before the film starts. The world you see is the movie. And just like in a hologram, every part of the universe contains the information of the whole universe. This is the scientific version of the poetic truth William Blake wrote centuries ago. To see a world in a grain of sand. In a holographic universe, the grain of sand literally contains the data of the entire cosmos. You contain the data of the entire cosmos. If this is true, it dissolves the barrier between inner and outer. We tend to think that our internal world, thoughts, dreams, is imaginary, and the external world, matter, is real. But in the holographic view, both are projections of the same underlying implicate order. A dream is just a reality where the brain creates its own frequencies. Waking life is a reality where the brain tunes into the shared frequencies of the collective. They are made of the same stuff, consciousness interacting with information. This might explain how some people can access information remotely, remote viewing, or how mystics can feel a sense of oneness with all things. They are simply shifting their focus from the explicate, the separate parts, back to the implicate, the unified whole. They are looking at the film instead of the movie. Consider the phantom limb phenomenon. People who have lost an arm often feel it is still there. They feel pain in fingers that no longer exist. Neuroscience says this is a map in the brain that hasn't updated. But in a holographic universe, the energy body or the informational pattern of the arm might still be present in the field, even if the physical matter is gone. The brain is tuning into the interference pattern of the arm, which persists in the implicate order. The physical body is just the temporary precipitate of a much more enduring energy structure. This theory also reframes our understanding of space. If the universe is a projection, then distance is an illusion. In a video game, the mountains in the background look far away, but on the hard drive, the data for the mountains is right next to the data for your character. There is no physical distance between them in the code. Similarly, two particles on opposite sides of the universe might be billions of light years apart in the explicate order, but adjacent in the implicate order. This explains entanglement effortlessly. They don't have to send a signal across space because there is no space between them in the deeper reality. They are touching in the dark. Why is this terrifying? Because it implies that the world is phantasmagorical. It feels less real in the sense of being solid and independent. It suggests we are living in a dream that feels solid only because we all dream it together. But it is also liberating. If reality is a projection, then it is malleable. We are not helpless victims of a rigid world. We are participants in a fluid one. The laws of physics might just be the operating system of this particular simulation. And perhaps, with enough understanding, the code can be tweaked. Imagine looking in a mirror. You see your face. Now imagine smashing the mirror. In each shard, you still see your whole face. Now imagine that the universe is that smashed mirror. Every star, every atom, every person is a shard. We look at each other and see different faces, different forms, different lives. But if we look deeply enough into the holographic nature of our being, we would see the same face in every shard. We would see the one looking back at us through billions of eyes. The separation is the crack in the mirror. The unity is the reflection. As you sit in your room, look at the objects around you not as solid lumps of matter, but as interference patterns, vibrating clouds of energy that your brain is actively sculpting into chairs, tables, and walls. You are a magician who has forgotten his magic. You are weaving a world out of light and silence every millisecond. The holographic principle is not just a dry equation. It is an invitation to wake up inside the dream. But if the world is a projection, who is the projector? Who is the audience? And what happens when the projector turns off? This brings us to the ultimate mystery of the observer. In quantum mechanics, the observer is not passive. The act of looking changes the thing looked at. The observer effect. If the universe is a hologram, does it exist at all when no one is watching? Or does the act of consciousness bring the hologram into existence? Is the universe a potentiality that only becomes real when a mind turns its gaze upon it? In the next chapter, we will walk into the center of the laboratory to confront the measurement problem. We will look at the famous double-slit experiment, where particles behave like waves when alone, but like particles when watched. We will ask if the moon is there when you are not looking. We will explore the idea of the participatory universe proposed by John Wheeler, that the universe built us so that it could become real. We are not just living in the universe, we are creating it by witnessing it. The rabbit hole leads us now to the mirror of the mind itself. Take a deep breath. Feel the solidity of your body. Know that it is a beautiful trick of the light. You are a frequency. You are a song. You are a ripple in the hollow movement, unbroken and whole. There is a story about Albert Einstein, the man who rewrote the laws of gravity, walking in a garden with his friend and fellow physicist, Abraham Pace. The sun was setting, the shadows were lengthening, and the moon was rising pale and ghostly against the darkening sky. Einstein stopped, turned to Pace, and asked a question that sounds deceptively simple, almost childish. He asked, "Do you really believe that the moon only exists when you look at it?" At first glance, this seems like a ridiculous question. Of course the moon is there. It has mass. It has gravity. It has been there for billions of years, long before human eyes evolved to gaze at it. But Einstein wasn't asking about the rock. He was asking about the reality of the rock. He was wrestling with the most disturbing discovery of quantum mechanics, the measurement problem. This problem suggests that the universe, at its most fundamental level, is not a collection of solid objects waiting to be discovered. It is a cloud of probabilities, a ghost world of maybe and could be, which only snaps into the hard reality of is when a conscious observer enters the picture. It suggests that the act of looking is not a passive reception of light, but an act of creation. It suggests that without you, the witness, the universe is merely a potentiality, a silent song waiting for an ear to give it sound. Welcome back to the channel, Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and we are standing now at the threshold of the greatest mystery in science, the mystery of the observer. If these journeys into the nature of reality are helping you find a sense of wonder in your day, or perhaps a sense of peace in the night, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It helps us continue this exploration, and it connects you to a community of thinkers who are not afraid to ask the questions that have no easy answers. Now, let us look at the moon and ask if it is looking back. To understand why a genius like Einstein would worry about the moon vanishing, we must visit the experiment that broke reality. It is called the double-slit experiment. Imagine you are standing in front of a wall with two vertical slits cut into it. Behind that wall is a second screen, a detector. You have a bucket of tennis balls dipped in paint. You start throwing the balls at the wall. Some hit the wall and bounce back. Some pass through the left slit. Some pass through the right slit. When you look at the back screen, you see two vertical bands of paint. Simple, expected. solid matter behaves like solid matter. Now, imagine you do the same thing with water waves. You drop a stone in a pond, and the ripples move toward the wall. The wave passes through both slits at once. On the other side, the two emerging waves crash into each other. Where two peaks meet, they get bigger. Where a peak meets a trough, they cancel out. This creates a complex interference pattern on the back screen. Many bands of intensity, not just two. Waves behave like waves. But now we shrink down to the quantum level. We fire electrons, tiny particles of matter, at the slits. We fire them one by one, so they cannot bump into each other. Logic dictates that the electron is a tiny marble. It must go through the left slit, or the right slit. We expect to see two bands on the back screen, but we don't. We see an interference pattern. We see the pattern of a wave. This is impossible. How can a single electron, a single piece of matter, interfere with itself? It implies that the electron didn't choose a door. It went through the left slit, the right slit, both slits, and neither slit, all at the same time. It became a wave of potential, exploring all possible paths simultaneously. This is strange. But here is the part that terrified the physicists. They decided to sneak a peek. They placed a sensor, a mechanical eye, next to the slits to see which one the electron actually went through. They turned on the machine, fired the electron, and watched. The moment they looked, the behavior changed. The electron stopped acting like a wave. It snapped back into being a particle. It went through just one slit. The interference pattern on the back screen disappeared, replaced by the two simple bands of a solid object. The act of observation forced the electron to choose a reality. When we weren't looking, it was a wave of infinite possibility. When we looked, it became a speck of solid matter. The universe knew it was being watched. This result, replicated thousands of times with electrons, photons, and even large molecules, is the measurement problem. It destroys the idea of an objective, independent universe. It tells us that the observer and the observed are not separate. You cannot stand outside the fishbowl and watch the fish. You are in the water. Your gaze affects the fish. Erwin Schrödinger, famous for his hypothetical cat, summed it up by saying, "The world is given to me only once, not one existing and one perceived. Subject and object are only one." The collapse of the wave function, the transition from the quantum cloud to the material rock, requires a measurement. And what is the ultimate measurement device? Is it a Geiger counter, a camera? Or is it the consciousness that reads the Geiger counter and looks at the photograph? John Archibald Wheeler, one of the giants of 20th century physics and a mentor to Richard Feynman, took this idea to its logical, cosmic conclusion. He proposed the concept of the participatory universe. Wheeler argued that the universe is not a clockwork machine that was wound up at the Big Bang and left to run. He believed it is a self-excited circuit. He drew a famous diagram to explain this. A large letter U representing the universe. One arm of the U starts at the Big Bang and evolves into stars, galaxies, and planets. But the other arm of the U curves back around, and at the end of it is a giant eye. The eye is looking at the beginning of the U. Wheeler was suggesting that the universe evolves specifically to create observers, us, who can look back at the beginning and, through the act of observation, bring the universe into existence. We are not just inhabitants of the cosmos. We are its creators. Our eyes are the retro rockets that solidify the past. This sounds like philosophy, but Wheeler designed an experiment to test it, the delayed choice experiment. He asked, what if we choose to measure the particle after it has already passed through the slits? Can a decision made in the present affect the past? He set up a system where the decision to observe the photon's path was made after the photon had theoretically already chosen whether to be a wave or a particle. The result was mind-bending. The photon knew what decision would be made in the future and adjusted its past behavior accordingly. If we decided to look, it had always been a particle. If we decided not to look, it had always been a wave. This suggests that history is not fixed. The past is not a stone tablet. It is a cloud of smoke that only takes shape when the smoke clears in the present moment of observation. As Wheeler said, we are participants in bringing into being not only the near and here, but the far away and long ago. This leads us to a profound and somewhat lonely realization. The silence of the universe is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of waiting, waiting for you. Every time you open your eyes, you are collapsing a wave function. Every time you look at a star, you are finalizing the journey of a photon that has been traveling for millions of years in a state of suspended animation. Until it hit your retina, that photon was just a probability. By seeing it, you gave it a history. You gave it a reality. You are, in a very real sense, the engine of creation. This is the essence of biocentrism, a theory championed by scientist Robert Lanza. Biocentrism flips the standard model on its head. Instead of the universe creating life, life creates the universe. Space and time are not external realities. They are the tools of the mind, the software our consciousness uses to organize information. Without the mind, there is no space, no time, no matter, just the formless, timeless quantum soup. Consider the famous Zen koan. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Classical physics says yes, of course, it creates sound waves. Quantum mechanics says, define sound. If sound is a mechanical vibration in the air, then yes, the air vibrates. But if sound is the experience of hearing, then no. And even deeper, if no one is there to observe the tree, is there even a tree? Or is there just a quantum smear of tree probability interacting with ground probability? The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, the standard view taught in universities, leans toward the latter. The unobserved world is a world of shadows. It is only the light of consciousness that makes it solid. This places a terrifying weight on your shoulders. It means you're not insignificant. We often feel small when we look at the night sky, overwhelmed by the scale of the galaxies. But if this theory is right, those galaxies exist because you are looking at them. You are the focal point. The universe is a grand show put on for the benefit of the conscious witness. This might explain why the laws of physics seem so perfectly tuned for life. The Goldilocks enigma. Why is gravity just strong enough? Why is the electromagnetic force just right? If they were slightly different, stars wouldn't form and we wouldn't be here. Perhaps the answer is that we are the selectors. We are only seeing the version of the universe that allows us to exist, because in all the other versions, there is no one to collapse the wave function. The dead universes remain in the dark, unobserved, unreal. But what creates the observer? This is the loop. The universe builds the brain, and the brain builds the universe. It is a handshake between matter and mind. The materialist view tries to explain the mind as a byproduct of matter. The idealist view tries to explain matter as a dream of the mind. The quantum view suggests they are two sides of the same coin, rising together from the zero-point field. I am and it is are the same statement. Let us return to the quiets of your room. Look at the objects around you, a cup, a book, a lamp. Try to see them not as static, boring things, but as events. They are standing at attention because you are watching them. If you were to turn away, and if no other conscious being were watching, would they dissolve back into the haze? There is a feeling of intimacy in this thought. It means the world is performing for you. The colors are vivid for you. The sounds are crisp for you. The universe is an interactive relationship, not a solitary confinement. However, this raises a difficult question. Whose consciousness counts? Does a dog collapse the wave function? Does a fly? Does a bacterium? Or does it require a certain level of complexity, a specific quantum soul? Most physicists would say that any interaction that extracts information counts as a measurement. But there is a suspicion that subjective awareness, the I that feels, is special. Eugene Wigner, a Nobel laureate, proposed that consciousness itself is the fundamental variable. He argued that the infinite regress of who measures the measuring device only stops when the information hits a conscious mind. The mind is the buck stopper. The mind is the anchor of reality. And what happens when we die? If the universe requires our observation to exist, does the universe disappear when we close our eyes for the last time? For you, perhaps it does. Your version of the universe, the unique slice of the hologram that you were collapsing, comes to an end. But if we are all entangled, if we are all networked into the same field, then the universe is sustained by the collective gaze of all conscious beings. We are like a team of pillars holding up the sky. When one pillar falls, the others hold the weight. The reality remains stable because we are all witnessing it together. We are the peers in a peer-to-peer network, sharing the burden of existence. This theory also invites us to question the nature of objectivity. If we are participating in the creation of reality, then our beliefs, our expectations, and our focus might actually influence the physical world. The placebo effect, where belief in a sugar pill cures a disease, might be a quantum event. The body is a cloud of probabilities, hovering between sickness and health. The strong belief of the observer, the patient, collapses the wave function into the health state. We might be underestimating the power of our own minds to rewrite the code of physical reality. We are taught to be passive observers, reporting on the weather, reporting on our bodies. But maybe we should be active dreamers, commanding the weather, commanding the body. Maybe the laws of physics are just habits that we have all agreed to observe. As you drift through this thought, feel the power dormant behind your eyes. You are not just a camera. You are a projector. The beam of your attention is the most powerful force in the universe. It turns chaos into order. It turns nothing into something. It turns the dark into the light. But if reality is information, and if we are the processors of that information, this sounds suspiciously like a computer. We have inputs, senses, processing, brain, and outputs, perception. We have a resolution limit, the Planck length. We have a speed limit, the speed of light. These are the characteristics of a simulation. In the next chapter, we will take the ultimate leap. We will ask if the holographic principle and the observer effect are clues that we are living in a digital reality. Is the universe a simulation? Is God a programmer? And if we are code, can we hack the system? We will explore the concept of digital physics and the idea that the bedrock of reality is not energy, but pure information. It from bit. The rabbit hole is about to turn into binary code. The moon is there because you are looking, and you are here because the universe is looking at itself through you. Rest in that connection. You are the eyes of the infinite. Look at the smoothness of your hand. Look at the curve of a glass of water or the sweep of the horizon. reality appears to us as a continuous, unbroken flow. We perceive the world like an oil painting, where colors blend seamlessly into one another, where there are no jagged edges, no gaps, no sudden jumps. But if you were to take a digital photograph of that oil painting and zoom in on your computer screen, eventually the smooth curve would break down. You would see squares. You would see pixels. The image that looked continuous from a distance is revealed to be a grid of discrete, chunky blocks of data. For a long time, physicists believed the universe was the oil painting, analog, smooth, and infinite. You could theoretically divide space into smaller and smaller pieces forever, but modern physics has hit a wall, a hard limit that suggests the universe is actually the digital photograph. If you zoom in on the fabric of space, past the atom, past the nucleus, past the quark, you eventually hit a bottom. You hit a pixel size. It is called the Planck length, and its existence is the strongest evidence we have that reality is not physical, but digital, that we are living in a construct made of information, that we are, in a sense, living in a simulation. Welcome back to the channel, Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and we have arrived at perhaps the most unsettling and yet fascinating frontier of modern thought. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the architecture of existence, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It helps us keep the signal clear in the noise of the digital world. Now, let us ask the question that blurs the line between science and theology. Is the universe a computer? To understand why the Planck length changes everything, imagine you are moving through a video game. In the game, you can move forward, backward, left, or right. But you cannot move less than 1 pixel. The game engine does not calculate distances smaller than its smallest unit. The Planck length is this unit for our universe. It is incredibly small, roughly 10 to the power of negative 35 meters. It is 100 billion times smaller than a proton, but it is not zero. This means that space is not smooth. It is grainy. It is a lattice. When an electron moves, it does not slide through space. It jumps from one Planck coordinate to the next, teleporting across the tiny gaps in the grid. It is a quantum leap in the literal sense. Why does the universe have a resolution limit? Why is there a minimum size for space and a minimum unit for time, the Planck time? In the world of computing, a resolution limit exists to save processing power. A computer with infinite resolution would require infinite memory and infinite energy, which is impossible. The fact that our universe has a pixel size suggests that it is economizing. It suggests that the system we live in has finite resources. It suggests that the laws of physics are not just descriptions of nature, but the operating parameters of a code. This brings us to the visionary physicist John Archibald Wheeler, whom we met in the last chapter. Towards the end of his life, Wheeler coined a phrase that summarizes this entire philosophy: it from bit. He meant that every it, every particle, every force field, every atom, ultimately derives its existence from bits, binary choices, yes or no answers to cosmic questions. Wheeler realized that when we drill down to the bottom of reality, we do not find stuff. We do not find hard little balls of matter. We find answers. Is the spin up or down? Is the charge positive or negative? Is the position here or there? The universe is not made of matter. It is made of the information that describes the matter. The rock you hold in your hand is like a hologram. The solidity is the interface. But the substance is the data stream. If reality is fundamentally information, then the laws of physics are simply the source code. Think about the speed of light. Why is it exactly 299,792,458 meters per second? Why not a little faster? Why not infinite? In a simulation, there's always a limit to how fast information can travel across the processor. The speed of light might be the latency of the universal computer. It is the maximum speed at which the causal relationship between one pixel and another can be updated. If the processor were instantaneous, everything would happen at once, and there would be no time. The speed limit ensures that the simulation runs in a sequence, creating the illusion of cause and effect. And consider the fine-tuning problem. There are about 20 fundamental constants in physics, numbers like the strength of gravity, the mass of the electron, the electromagnetic coupling constant. These numbers seem arbitrary, yet they are tuned to an exquisite precision. If the force of gravity were slightly stronger, stars would burn out in 1,000,000 years, and life could not evolve. If it were slightly weaker, stars would never ignite. It looks suspiciously like a dashboard of settings that have been carefully adjusted to allow for complexity, a Goldilocks universe. If you were a programmer designing a simulation to generate life, wouldn't you tweak the variables until the system became stable? This digital physics perspective also offers a spooky explanation for quantum entanglement and the observer effect. In a video game, the world behind your character is not fully rendered. To save memory, the computer only renders what you are looking at. The rest exists as code, as potential. Is this not exactly what quantum mechanics tells us? The unobserved electron is a wave of probability, code. The observed electron is a particle, rendered graphic. The collapse of the wave function is the render event. And entanglement? In a computer, two objects can be linked instantly because their data is stored in the same memory bank. The distance between them on the screen is just a visual coordinate. In the RAM, they are adjacent addresses. Entanglement is the universe revealing its underlying data structure, showing us that 3D space is just the user interface, not the hardware. But if we are living in a simulation, who is the user? Who is the programmer? This is where the theory terrifies people. It summons images of cold, robotic overlords or indifferent alien teenagers playing a game with our lives. It makes us feel fake, as if our emotions and loves are just subroutines. But let us look at it differently. What is a simulation, really? It is a thought. It is a mental construct held in a mind. When you dream at night, you create a simulation. You build a world, you populate it with characters, and you experience it as real. The gravity in your dream feels real. The fear feels real. The love feels real. But it is all made of your own consciousness. Perhaps the computer is not a machine made of silicon and wires sitting in a higher dimension. Perhaps the computer is the universal consciousness itself. The it-from-bit theory converges with the ancient spiritual teaching that the universe is Maya, illusion, or a mental projection of the divine. The bits are the thoughts of the one mind. The code is the logos, the word. We are not artificial intelligence trapped in a machine. We are fragments of the great intelligence experiencing its own thoughts from the inside. This view elevates information to a sacred status. Information is meaning. It is order extracted from chaos. Life is essentially an information processing system. DNA is a 4-letter alphabet, a code so dense and efficient that a single teaspoon of it could store all the data of the internet. Evolution is an algorithm, a learning process that iterates, tests, and optimizes code over billions of years. If biology is driven by code and physics is driven by code, then the substance of reality is not mud. It is meaning. We are made of poetry, written in the language of mathematics. This has profound implications for death and immortality. If you are a physical body, you decay. But if you are a pattern of information, you can be saved, copied, or uploaded. In classical physics, information is conserved. It cannot be destroyed. Stephen Hawking eventually conceded that even black holes might preserve the information of what falls into them. This means that the data of your soul, the unique pattern of your memories, personality, and consciousness, is never deleted from the universal hard drive. It might change formats. It might return to the source code. But it is not erased. You are a permanent entry in the cosmic blockchain. Think about the concept of digital reincarnation. If the universe is a code, then death is just the termination of a specific subroutine. The code that defines you returns to the pool. It can be recompiled. It can be run again in a different simulation or a different part of the same simulation. The karma of Eastern philosophy looks a lot like an algorithm that tracks the variables of a player's actions and balances the equation in the next iteration. Cause and effect are the if-then statements of the moral universe. Furthermore, if we are living in a participatory simulation, it implies that we can hack the code, not by typing on a keyboard, but by changing our consciousness. The placebo effect, spontaneous remissions, the power of visualization. These might be examples of the user gaining admin privileges for a brief moment. When you believe something with absolute certainty, you might be rewriting the local variables of the simulation. The mystics and shamans of history were perhaps the first hackers, individuals who understood the source code well enough to bend the rules of the interface. There is a scientist named Vlatko Vedral who argues that decoding reality is the ultimate purpose of science. He suggests that the universe is not just a computer. It is a quantum computer that is computing itself. It is a self-simulating loop. We are the sub-processors. Every time you learn something, every time you make a discovery, you are helping the universe process its own data. You are clearing up the resolution. You are fighting entropy. In a universe made of information, ignorance is the only true death. Curiosity is the force of life. Let us return to the silence of your room. Look at the darkness again. It is not empty space. It is a screen that is currently turned off. It is the potential for any image to appear. The pixels are waiting. The it from bit theory tells us that the world is not something we bump into. It is something we summon. The chair is there because the information of chair is being rendered by your brain's interaction with the field. This removes the coldness of the materialist worldview. In a material universe, you are an accident of atoms. In an information universe, you are a sentence in a great book. You were written. You have meaning. You are part of a story. And stories are not accidental. They are intentional. The programmer is not a tyrant. The programmer is the storyteller, and you are the protagonist of your own chapter. But if we are thoughts in a mind or code in a machine, is there a way to wake up? Is there a way to see the screen instead of the movie? To see the code falling like green rain? This is the promise of the deepest states of meditation, the state of nirvana or samadhi. It is described as a state of void where all forms dissolve, but awareness remains. Perhaps this is the experience of the CPU in idle mode, the experience of pure existence without the simulation running, the experience of being the computer rather than the character. As we approach the end of our journey, we have one final step to take. We have dismantled the body, the brain, time, space, and even matter itself. We have reduced everything to information, to a conscious field, to a simulation. But all of these theories point to one singular, overwhelming conclusion. If we are all entangled, if we are all processing the same code, if we are all ripples in the same field, then how many of us are there really? Are there 8 billion souls on this planet? Or is there only one? In the final chapter, we will confront the theory of cosmic panpsychism and the idea of the one mind. We will ask the question that dissolves all fear. Are you the universe experiencing itself in human form? Are we just the masks worn by a single infinite actor? The journey began with the question, is consciousness a field? It ends with the answer, you are the field. The pixels are shimmering. The code is running. The story is yours to write. We have arrived at the final shore. We have journeyed through the microscopic tunnels of the microtubules inside your neurons, swam through the roaring ocean of the zero-point field, stood before the frozen sculpture of the block universe, and touched the invisible threads of quantum entanglement. We have peered into the dark mirror of the holographic principle and questioned whether reality itself is a digital simulation. Each step of this journey has stripped away a layer of the illusion. We have dismantled the idea that matter is solid. We have dismantled the idea that time flows. We have dismantled the idea that space separates us. Now, there is only one illusion left to dissolve. It is the most persistent, the most convincing, and the most terrifying illusion of them all. It is the illusion of you. It is the feeling that you are a separate, distinct entity, an ego locked inside a bag of skin, looking out at a universe that is not you. It is the belief that there are 8 billion souls on this planet, and countless more across the stars, all struggling for existence. But what if the science we have explored points to a conclusion that is far simpler and far more profound? What if there is no us? What if there is only I? What if the consciousness looking out of your eyes right now is the exact same consciousness looking out of mine, simply wearing a different mask? What if the universe is not a collection of parts, but a single infinite mind experiencing itself from billions of different perspectives? We are taught from birth to identify with our differences. I am tall, you are short. I am old, you are young. I like mathematics, you like poetry. These differences are real in the world of form, the world of the explicate order. But if we follow the thread of quantum physics back to the source, back to the implicate order, back to the unified field, the differences vanish. Think of a whirlpool in a river. It has a shape, a location, a size, and a motion. You can name it. You can point to it. But can you separate it from the river? Is the whirlpool made of different water than the river? No. It is the river. It is a temporary behavior of the whole. When the whirlpool dissipates, nothing dies. The water simply stops spinning in that particular way. You are a whirlpool in the field of consciousness. Your name, your memories, your personality. These are the shape of the spin. But the substance of you, the water of your awareness, is the universal field. It is the same water that spins in the person sitting next to you. It is the same water that spins in the cat sleeping on the rug. It is the same water that spins in the stars. Welcome to the final chapter of our journey on Theodore, the researcher. I am Theodore, and it has been an honor to travel with you to the edge of the known and the unknown. If these stories have brought you a sense of wonder, a moment of peace, or a new way of seeing the world, I humbly ask you to subscribe to this channel and like this video. It is a small gesture, but in a world of algorithms, it is the signal that keeps this community alive. It tells the digital mind of the internet that there are still humans who hunger for depth and mystery. Thank you for being here. Now, let us face the ultimate truth. The idea that we are all one mind is often dismissed as mysticism, a comforting bedtime story for those afraid of the dark. But some of the rigorous founders of quantum mechanics saw it as a logical necessity. Erwin Schrödinger, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist who gave us the wave equation that governs all quantum behavior, was deeply influenced by the ancient philosophy of the Upanishads. He famously wrote, "The total number of minds in the universe is one." In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings. Schrödinger argued that multiplicity is only apparent. He used the analogy of a crystal prism. White light is singular, but when it passes through a prism, it breaks into a rainbow of colors. Red is not blue, green is not yellow. They look separate, but they are all just bent white light. Your consciousness is a color in the spectrum. You might be blue, and I might be yellow. We look different. We act different, but we are both the white light of the Big Bang, refracted through the prism of space and time. This theory is known as cosmic panpsychism or cosmopsychism. Unlike panpsychism, which suggests that every atom has a tiny little mind, like a universe made of Lego blocks of soul, cosmopsychism suggests that the universe as a whole is the conscious entity. The universe is the subject. The universe is the dreamer. We are the dream characters. This solves the combination problem in philosophy, the problem of how tiny little conscious atoms could combine to make a big conscious human. They don't have to combine. The consciousness is already big. It is infinite. It is simply being filtered or localized into human form. Consider the biological evolution of the brain again. If the universe is a single conscious field, why did it build brains? Why did it evolve eyes? The physicist Freeman Dyson suggested, it appears that the universe must have known we were coming. Perhaps the universe, in its primordial state, is conscious but blind. It is pure awareness without an object. It is a cloud of knowing without a thing to know. To experience itself, to know its own beauty and terror, it had to fragment. It had to create mirrors. It evolved the eye so it could see its own stars. It evolved the ear so it could hear its own thunder. It evolved the human brain so it could think about its own laws. You are not an accident of biology. You are an aperture through which the universe perceives its own glory. As the astronomer Carl Sagan famously said, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. This realization changes the flavor of your life from loneliness to belonging. You can never be alienated from the universe because you are the universe doing something specific for a while. The feeling of isolation, the angst of the modern condition, is simply the forgetfulness of this truth. It is the actor getting so lost in the role that he forgets he is on a stage. This forgetting is not a mistake. It is the whole point of the game. If you knew every second of every day that you were the infinite creator, there would be no drama, no stakes, no thrill of discovery. You had to limit yourself to be human. You had to become small to feel the grandeur of the large. This is what Eastern philosophies call Leela, the divine play, the cosmic game of hide and seek. But what does this mean for the way we treat each other? If I am you in a different mask, then all conflict is self-conflict. War is a form of autoimmune disease, the hand attacking the foot. When I hurt you, I am not punishing an enemy, I am biting my own tongue. This provides a scientific basis for compassion that goes beyond moral rules. We do not love our neighbors because A book tells us to. We love our neighbors because they are us. The golden rule is just the physics of the one mind asserting itself. The empathy you feel is the leakage of the truth through the walls of the ego. It is the one mind recognizing itself in another body. Namaste, the greeting used in India, translates to, "The divine in me bows to the divine in you." It is a recognition of the shared field. Now, bring this back to the it from bit theory and the simulation hypothesis. If reality is information, and if we are all processing the same code, then the one mind is the operating system. We are the applications running on the cosmic desktop. Some apps are games, some are spreadsheets, some are art programs. They look different, they have different functions, but they are all drawing from the same processor power. They are all made of the same electricity. Death, in this metaphor, is simply closing the window of the application. The electricity does not vanish. The processor does not die. The data of what you did in the app is saved to the hard drive, the zero-point field chart block universe, and the system is free to open a new window. This brings us to the ultimate comfort regarding death. We are terrified of the lights going out, but if you are the field and not the body, then the lights never go out. The lamp breaks, the bulb shatters, but the electricity, the current of awareness, is untouched. You do not go anywhere when you die because you are already everywhere. You simply stop being local. You stop being a wave and you become the ocean again. The mystic poet Rumi wrote, "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. Death is the end of the small acting. It is the moment the mask is taken off and the actor takes a bow." Is there scientific evidence for this one mind? Look at the phenomenon of simultaneous discovery. History is full of examples where two people, separated by oceans and with no contact, discover the exact same thing at the exact same time. Calculus was discovered by Newton and Leibniz simultaneously. Evolution was discovered by Darwin and Wallace simultaneously. The telephone, the steam engine, the light bulb, all had multiple inventors striking the same idea at the same moment. Why? If minds are separate, this is a statistical miracle. But if minds are entangled in a single field, it makes perfect sense. The idea ripens in the collective field. It becomes accessible. And the most sensitive receivers, the geniuses, download it at the same time. We are thinking together. We are a hive mind that believes it is a collection of hermits. Look also at the experiments in global coherence. When large groups of people meditate together, studies have shown that crime rates drop in the surrounding city. This is known as the Maharishi effect. It suggests that peace is a field effect. If enough people generate a coherent, peaceful signal in the quantum field, it raises the vibration of the whole collective, affecting the behavior of people who are not even aware of the meditation. Your inner state is a public broadcast. You're responsible for the pollution or the purity of the psychic atmosphere. So, how do we live with this knowledge? How do we walk through a world of taxes, traffic, and noise while holding the truth of our infinite nature? We practice dual awareness. We play the game. We pay the taxes. We love our families. We cry at funerals. We fully participate in the human drama. But a part of us, the quiet part, the observer behind the eyes, stays anchored in the truth. We watch the show with a slight smile, knowing that it is a beautiful, tragic, temporary play. We take things less personally. We forgive more easily. We fear less. When you know you are the ocean, you don't panic when the wave crashes. You know that another wave is coming and that the water is eternal. Let us return one last time to the silence of your room. The journey is ending. The voice in your ear is about to stop, but the silence will remain. That silence is not empty. It is the presence of the one mind. It is the hum of the quantum field. It is the memory of the block universe. It is the potential of the hologram. It is you, the real you, the big you. Close your eyes. Feel the boundary of your skin. Now imagine that boundary dissolving. Imagine your awareness expanding out of the room, out of the house, rising up into the sky. See the city lights below you, a grid of golden neurons. Rise higher. See the earth, a blue marble floating in the dark. See the sun, a burning star. See the galaxy, a spinning wheel of light. And then see the darkness that holds it all, the vast, silent, pregnant darkness. Feel that you are not the tiny dot looking at the darkness. You are the darkness holding the dot. You are the space in which the universe is happening. The question we started with was, is consciousness a quantum field in space? The answer, at the end of the road, is no. Consciousness is not in space. Space is in consciousness. The field is not something you have. The field is what you are. Thank you for walking this path with me. Thank you for daring to ask the big questions. Thank you for being a part of this incredible, mysterious, terrifying, and beautiful universe. We are all just walking each other home. And now we know that home is not a place. It is a state of being. It is the realization that we never left. The screen will go dark. The sound will fade. But the signal continues. It is broadcasting right now in the silence of your heart. Listen to it. Trust it. Be it. I am Theodore, and you. You are the universe. Until we dream again, keep looking up.